what are the stories that we're telling ourselves about our lives, about our experience,
Yeah.
about trauma, about something that has happened to us? Are we continuing to play the same story and the outcome of how we feel or how it should have turned out in
Mhm.
terms of where we are today? Or are we looking at that and saying, okay, this happened? And I feel like that's what therapy and all those things does. It helps you rewrite the script. Another episode of Soul Shift Sessions podcast where we have deep, transformative conversation with a side of shenanigans to help you transform your mind to transform your life.
Side of
I'm your
shenanigans was very apropos. Very
apropos.
apropos. I'm sorry for interrupting. Please go.
I'm your favorite freedom and financial life coach, Coach Sapphire Starr. Of course, I have with me my favorite co-host.
Kyle McLeod.
And we are back with another podcast and transformative conversation. Before we get into the podcast, though, we would really love for you to follow us and rate us wherever you're listening to our podcast. We are available on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, and Apple Music. You can also find us and follow us at www.soulshift.com. You can join the tribe. You can also join the conversation and be a guest on Soul Shift Session. Last but not least, make sure you are following us on social media, on Instagram at Soul Shift Sessions. Coach Kyle, what are we talking about today?
Dashikis.
We shift. We're talking about a soul shift. We're talking about the spirit, transformative. And, we're going to have an episode where we come on here fully dressed in our ancestral garment.
All of it. The whole thing.
The whole
All right.
thing.
So, no, gang, we're not talking about dashikis today. Today, we are talking about the stories we tell ourselves and how you are creating your own struggle.
That is such a great topic. And I'm super excited to jump into it because let's be real. What are you telling yourself and how is it aligned with the vision that you have for yourself?
Well,
What is the story?
first of all, I think that we might be going a little too fast because
Okay.
when it comes to stories, I think we all have to realize that we're all telling ourselves a story, period.
Yes.
Like whenever you are having thoughts, especially like when that thought transforms into an opinion, that opinion is rooted in a story that you told yourself. So, case in point, this just happened. I had lost communication, or I should say lost communication. We'll just say that it was a long period of time. For like, imagine if you and I hadn't talked for like 3 weeks. That would be weird, right? Like, it would be strange if you and I had zero communication over a 3-week period. But being the person that I am, the overthinker that I am, the undiagnosed ADHD that I have, right? I immediately start going into the overthinking mode and saying, like, it's either going to be this voice that's saying that how wrong this person is for not reaching out, how I am being mistreated, and how I have been the one who has always been reaching out. Like, that's where it goes. Or it goes to this place called, well, we don't really know what's going on, right? And then if you F around and look at social media, they're going to keep telling you, hey, you give them the same energy that they're giving you.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about?
I do. I do. It's almost like, am I going to extend grace or I'm going to extend vengeance?
So it turns out that person had a medical issue. Never came up as a possibility up here. And so my point is that don't believe everything you think.
And not only that, because that's an external thing, but
Mhm.
just internally. Right? What are the stories that we're telling ourselves about our lives, about our experience,
Yeah.
about trauma, about something that has happened to us? Are we continuing to play the same story and the outcome of how we feel or how it should have turned out in
Mhm.
terms of where we are today? Or are we looking at that and saying, okay, this happened? And I feel like that's what therapy and all those things does. It helps you rewrite the script,
Rewrite
right?
the script or reframe the thought.
Reframe.
But the
Yeah.
thing is, when you I don't know where this is coming from in regards to what I'm about to say. I don't know if it's from culture or if it's from family history or what have you, but I know that in my experience, I'm a master at making myself bad, wrong, and indifferent for all the things that have gone wrong in my past. Instead of looking at past failures as data, evidence of what did not work. But instead, I will take that evidence of what did not work and I will make it about who I am as a person, how my character is, how, awful I am. It's like I go right to the dark places. Why does that have? I don't really do that now. I have. And if you are not checking that, reality checking that, you can end up telling these stories that are detrimental. And the thing is, um, I think it goes, as a man thinketh, so is he, right? And
Y-
so if you
Yeah.
think that you are bad and wrong, how long before those thought patterns start affecting your health physically?
Absolutely. Are you creating your struggles, your current struggles? Because obviously, when it comes to things that have happened to us, culturally or our just experience growing up, a lot of things we don't have control over, especially if you were victimized. You don't have control over that,
Mhm.
right? But the ending of that story, that's how we can take back the power
Yeah.
in terms of how are we going to navigate these things. And I think that is a part of the healing process. Like, okay, how do I take power from the person that has victimized me, from the experience
Yeah.
that I feel like I should have had, but then I had this experience because someone else made a decision, right? And so at what point, or like, are we creating our current struggles because we're
You're
retelling that
retelling.
whole story as if we don't have the power now to be like, oh, I want to create a different ending.
Yeah.
I want to imagine a different outcome, a different possibility, instead of replaying the tape over and over again. The woe is me, the well, if so and so didn't do it, well, the white man, that's another one. Not to take away facts, historical facts and data, right? Not to take away
1000%.
not to take away from that, but it's like, how am I going to navigate that? We always talk about on the podcast, especially me, when challenges arise, my brain has been wired to be like, oh, this is an opportunity because I love challenges. And it could be wired into my personality as a Gemini. I'm like, oh, a challenge. Let's go. Like it fires me up. But what I learned about myself is that not everybody necessarily thinks that way. Not everybody goes into a challenge as if it's an opportunity, right? And so
Well,
But this is the story I tell myself. The story is, oh, something's happening. All right, bet. Let's go. But someone else could easily be like, oh man, I knew this was going to happen. This always happens to me. Every time I get ahead, 2 steps back, and here I am. And I can't seem to get ahead because bad things are always happening to me.
And that's the story that
That you tell?
comes from 88.9 on the radio dial, right? Low frequency, low thoughts, creating a reality. It's almost like, well, when I used to facilitate some courses, I would say, what if you walked out the house and you saw like a $20 bill sitting on the ground? For some people, their thought is, oh, if my day is starting off like this, I can't even imagine how the day is going to go. And I would ask them, how many of you, if that has happened to you before, where something great has happened really early in the day, and then throughout the day, more good things happen? Hands all across the room. Then ask, how many of you have had a day start off and it was negative, and you already said, my day already is ruined, and it just started. And as you go through the day, a series of unfortunate events keep on happening throughout the day. Hands go up. And so I asked them, so is this happening to you, or are you creating it? Like when something good happens and you start looking for other great things and
Yeah.
you find them, are you creating that, or is it just happening?
Yeah.
Because if it's true on the positive side, then it has to be true on the flip side of that coin.
Yeah. So what is the consensus when you pose that question in terms of how people, like, their thoughts behind that? In terms of, do they interpret that as, what was the question you said? Are you creating it or is it happening? What was the question?
It was, are you creating your reality, or are these events just happening? And
And what was
even the ones who never even considered before, they all came to the same consensus, which is, I must be creating it.
Yeah, yeah. I have, same with me as a financial wellness coach.
Yeah.
Out when I do my consultation or even my discovery call with my clients, and I'll ask them, what has been your biggest challenge? And they'll say something like, oh, I can't save money. I've never been able to save money. Or, I just, I don't know how to make more money, or I don't know how I can make more money, or this is just all I know. And I quickly go to, well, how can we reframe that? Instead of saying, oh, I can never save money, how can we reframe that thought process? Because again, mindset, a belief, a thought that you keep thinking
Right.
is no different than a story you keep telling yourself.
Correct.
This all is aligned with mindset because you're feeding and you're perpetuating that. So, of course, if you believe you will never be able to save money,
Right.
you will never be able to save money.
And a
So then
reframe for
yeah,
that could be very simple.
yeah, I am capable of saving money.
I'm capable.
I'm
It could have
capable.
been, I haven't been able to save money yet.
Yet.
Just
And
adding
then,
that one word to the end of it can change the whole outlook of that statement.
yes, and I'm going to save money
Yeah.
this year. Because then that becomes like, okay, that's the thought. Okay, well,
Right.
what's the action? Or what can I do to save
Right.
money? Since I believe it now, like, oh, I can set aside $1 a month, and
You
start,
saved money.
you save money. Because I think oftentimes people see the big pink elephant and they're like, saving $10,000. And it's like, that can be extremely overwhelming.
Right.
And it creates inactivity and inaction because it doesn't feel possible.
Well, it's the same as going up the stairs and trying to go up 5 steps when good and well, you know you're only capable of going up 2 steps at a time.
Exactly. Or how do you eat an elephant?
One,
One bite at a time. How do you save $10,000? $1 at a time, $2 at a time.
I gotta
That's
admit, if I didn't have a voice like yours when we start like working on things, like there you'll see me get like a little bit overwhelmed and you'll be like, sir, one bite at a
great.
time. One bite at a time.
Task. One task at a time.
One
One
task.
post at a time.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. And it's helpful. So I am now at a place where I am not condemning myself for the things that I know and am still struggling with at time. You know, for example, getting overwhelmed at the number of tasks that I'll have in a day because it gives you the freedom to say, hey, one task at a time, one bite at a time. How do we eat an elephant? You know, and I'm just okay with allowing you to kind of help me in that area. I don't have to be perfect when we're working. I just need to just stay in action. And I think that that is the challenge for people is we can be in action and then we can also get discouraged really easily and fall out of action. And so having a coach can make a huge difference, right? Because if I have a coach that I'm checking in with weekly or even bi-weekly, or even the coach that I can send a text message and say, hey, this is what's coming up for me. This is what I'm experiencing. And then you can be that empathetic person on the other end that says, one bite at a time, you know, don't beat yourself up for having these thoughts because these thoughts, they come up and you're practicing, you're working a new muscle called I'm saving money. I'm gone from not saving money to saving money. So therefore, it's a muscle that I have to practice and work up. So having the coach is extremely helpful. So there's
Yeah.
my shameless plug for your coaching services.
I appreciate that. And I was going to speak about coaching and I was going to use my health and wellness as an example of that. And there was a time in my life where I was really struggling with my weight. I had cholesterol. And so it was something at the forefront. But the whole idea of all of a sudden becoming healthy was extremely overwhelming. I'm just like, where do I even begin? Because I didn't have a practice of working out. I didn't have a practice of nutrition. I
Mhm.
didn't know these things. And so, I remember I decided that I was gonna start running, and then I I I downloaded the app C2 5K.
Which stands for couch to 5K.
Correct, correct. Because in kinda align with what we're talking about, it's like, oh, how do you get to that 5K? Whereas like, oh, you take these steps, one
Mhm.
step at a time. And a 5K is, I think, 3.1 miles. And so for me, it was like, oh, let me start run, walk, and then I'll get to a point where I can run consistently for 30 minutes. Did that, completed the step by step because you could not have told me that I would have been running anything. I can barely walk to my mailbox, okay, to get something out of the mailbox. That was the extent of my athleticism,
Yeah.
okay? So creating that goal was like, "Oh, let's do it." And then after I completed a 5K. I actually won a trophy, 2nd place for my age group, which I think was only 2 of us. But I won. That was like,
You're like, but I still want. I beat her.
I'm a runner now. And then I went to my gym and they had a marathon and they was like, sign up for the race. And I was like, yes,
I'm in.
sign me up.
Yeah.
And the lady was like, do you know how many miles that is? I was like, oh, I don't know. And she said 26.2. And I said, what? In my
For the running
mind, I was like, my mind is like, how is that even possible? Nobody's running 26.2 miles. You mean all at the same time?
right.
Are we logging this over a period of days? You're talking about the same time?
In
And she
one
said,
session, in one sitting?
what's this? She was like, people do it all the time. So again, it's that
Yeah.
elephant. Like 26.2, I can't do that. Like my brain is like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
But then once I got over that, I was like, okay, it went from I can't do that to
Yeah.
how can I do that? That was the switch in my brain from the story of I can't to, well, how do I make this happen? So that meant, okay, do more 5Ks. That meant, oh, do a 10K. So now we're up to 6.2 miles. Then it was like mentally, I can, I still didn't see the vision. I was like, on my own. And then I hired a coach who had run several marathons. He was the one that got me from a 10K to a half marathon to a marathon. And I've run 2 marathons. So I went from, I don't know what this is, to I've ran 2 marathons. But it took me retelling or rewriting the script in my brain to, okay, this is what I believe now, to, okay, let me take action. Then hiring someone who is capable, who believes, because it may take that. You may
Yeah.
not even have the capacity to think beyond the stories you've been telling yourself because this is all you know. But then that's when you align yourself with the coach, with a friend,
Yeah.
with a group, with a community of people that are doing the very thing that you thought was
Yep.
impossible.
Yep.
Because when you see what's possible, it unlocks something in your brain
That's
to
the key
get
right there.
free.
Is
Yeah, the
possibility.
freedom to be like, oh, this is my life. I can write the story. Oh,
And
he was
what's interesting about this story is that the Sapphire Star that signed up for that marathon and didn't know what a marathon even was,
I just
not
saw race.
only was that Sapphire Star different up here, but that Sapphire Star was different here as well. Like the body was not, that particular body could not do the marathon.
Yeah.
So
It
you
wasn't
not
track
right. So you
condition.
transformed your mind and you also had to transform your body in order for your body to even complete the mileage, which is
Yeah.
similar to my experience in regards to cycling because I mean, I remember doing my first mile and it was like a milestone. And then I started cycling with other people and started seeing that there were certain distances that I thought like, oh, I just got to develop that, 10
Yeah.
miles, 15 miles, 25 miles. But I had to hear that someone did 50 miles. I had to hear that someone did 100 miles for that to even be possible in my life. And I
Yes.
had to meet people that, or one guy, he was an older guy too. His name was Kyle as well. Or no, his name was Michael Kyle. And I remember one day he had done, I want to say like 50 miles on one day and then was going to do 60 with us the next day. And
Wow.
I was like,
Back to back?
how
Oh,
how did you even manage the fluid? Cause like I'm drinking like a dog right now. Like I am just constantly drinking. Like I don't even know where, like I don't even know how to even get more fluids if I'm out in the wild like you're out there. And but his body was different. It was conditioned differently than mine was. And I did not like I knew there was a gap, but I didn't understand physiologically what that all meant. And now, I've done the most in a day has been 140 miles in a day.
killing it.
That
Killing
was
it.
just this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
now it's like, all right, anything really is possible. Like there is a ride where it's 200 miles in one day. I've never done it.
Yeah.
But that a ride like that does exist. And so, what I thought was really cool this morning was the message you left about what I said yesterday in regards to being like all of my weight loss stuff is geared towards my performance on the bike. Like I'm not doing it for looks. I just 10 pounds off this body will make me go faster on the bike.
Yeah.
That's just what it is. And that's what I'm interested in. So, and I like how you were like, so I started looking for races
Yeah.
because, and I actually, like, after that message, I was like, you know what, let me see where the bits are going. That I could go prepare for. You
Yeah,
know,
because that's something.
I was gonna say I personally don't necessarily need events anymore because, every Saturday is like my own personal event. And I have like always these larger numbers in mind, but I totally see how, well, hell, just the last event in Georgia, that's an event that I got to prepare for because I live in flat land, and in Georgia, it's a different animal. It's over
Yeah.
4,000 feet of elevation, which my body isn't really conditioned for that. So, it's rides like that I have to sign up for and then train for because the terrain is so different than it is here.
Mhm. Yeah. And I believe there's things, practices that we implement in our lives to help us get to the ending of the story, the outcome that we expect. Because we're sharing these stories on a 40-minute podcast. But what you guys may not necessarily see in these stories is the time between signing up for what a race that was actually a marathon
Right.
to me actually running a marathon. That had to have been at least from 2006, and my marathon was 2013.
Okay.
So 7 years for me to go from this to that. And that's something that I think is important for us to stress, and probably the same with you, from when you did that mile to now you're knocking it out the park.
It takes
I think
time.
it's important. It
Takes
takes
time.
time, guys.
Yeah.
But these conversations that we're having, our hopes is that it helps flip a switch in your brain to think about what's possible for you if you begin to change your thoughts, to change your life.
And sports is a really easy way to drive the point home. But what we're talking about is not limited to just sports.
Yeah.
Possibility exists in so many different all areas of our
All
lives.
areas.
If you are the person that has had bad relationship after bad relationship after bad relationship, you might have a thought process called I don't do well in relationships, or I don't pick well in relationships. I don't do whatever the thing is in their relationships is at the end of the sentence. Possibility exists everywhere. So therefore, it's a matter of changing your mindset. And there's also one critical thing that we haven't mentioned. Just because you have transformed your mind, that does not mean that the world around you has
Yes.
transformed theirs,
Be
which
prepared for
means that they may still see you as the person that you were before. And that's okay.
and that's okay too. Absolutely.
That's okay. But you got to recognize that that's what's happening is that people are related to, there are certain aspects about myself that my family still believes that I do. And my kids, if you say that to my kids, they'll be like, they'll look at you like you got two heads on your shoulders. Like, for example, in my family, I've been known to cook and they see like I just make a ton of dishes. Whereas my kids, they're like, yeah, like when it's time to eat, there's very few dishes in the sink because he's been cleaning the entire step of the way. But if I go to my family's house and I leave one pot, it takes them
50 pots.
bro, don't go, but clean as he goes.
And
It's
I
okay.
And I think that's important in your journey of beginning to rewrite or reframe or flip the script, literally, is surrounding yourself with like-minded, light-driven people. Because the reality is, what is it called? Confirmation bias,
This
where if you believe something, you will find all the evidence. You will attract all the evidence and
Yep.
all the people around you to be like, yeah, that's right.
Right.
You're
If you're gonna
absolutely right.
looking for trouble, you will find it.
You will find it.
This is why it doesn't make sense to me to go through your partner's phone
Yeah, no. Yeah.
because if you're looking for something, you'll most likely it may not even be real, but you'll find it and you'll make it real.
You'll make it real. And confirmation bias, you will find all the evidence
Yeah.
for it to be true. So why not take that energy and effort to confirm an outcome that you truly desire, but maybe you didn't even think it was a possibility, but you begin to imagine that, oh, this is the reality that I would like to create for
Yeah.
myself. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's as simple as saying it out loud. Like when you talked about relationships, because that is something that I have had a challenge with. I'm a 47-year-old single woman. Holla at me.
You glass over that and sister, you not look. I will not let you glass over that.
Listen, I'm being intentional. I'm being intentional.
I'll have it. Pull up.
Being a well about me. But past experiences has forced me to sometimes question, is it me? Is it them? Is it what I'm attracting? Why am I attracting this particular type of individual? Because I'm
Yeah.
pattern here,
Right.
right? But not fall into the trap of, oh, I must be can't relationship correctly. But it's easy to fall into that trap. It
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah.
It's really easy to be like, oh, it's me. What is wrong with me? Or what am I not doing? What I am doing. But it really is creating the narrative in the story. Like, no, I am capable of being loved. I am able to love other people the way they want to be loved. I can have a healthy, long
Yeah.
relationship based on the things that I want. Shifting my mindset and seeing the vision. For
Yeah.
example, I went walking with my mentee and we very impromptu. We went to the Mercer Williams house here in Savannah, Georgia, which is infamous in the book, The Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, telling the story of James Williams in the Mercer house. So we're going through the house. And it's so interesting because when I was in the house, I was just like, I would really love to have a home in downtown Savannah because this is where I grew up. And but the homes in downtown Savannah, due to gentrification, is expensive.
Oh.
It's very expensive. But there was a time in my life when I've been like, well, that's probably not possible because there's millions of dollars for these homes. But my brain immediately was like, okay, since we're here imagining, all right, so my husband is going to buy me this home that I can live happily ever after in because I see myself
Yeah.
in a home downtown Savannah, just retired in that. Or it don't even have to be retirement. It could be like now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I began to imagine that reality. But there was a time in my life when I've been like, I don't know. Like I don't know if that's for me. And then the
Yeah.
Fuga Lisa kick in. I'm like, that's a lot of money. And so, but no, I created a story in my head was like, oh, well, someone that loves me will buy the home for me because this is what I want. And then that was just speaking into because Jim Williams, his dream, he was a antique and art collector. And
Okay.
something he loved to do was restore things. So he took the money that he made as an arts dealer and he began restoring the old homes in Savannah because that's something that he was passionate about. And he started doing these things, but because he was like, oh, this is what I want to do, it was kind of like, okay, this is what I'm going to do and how I'm gonna live my life. Even though it was very tragic, like it was a tragedy. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah. Yeah.
a tragedy. Someone lost their
Absolutely.
life. I think he went to trial 4 times for taking the life of someone else in self-defense or maybe not self-defense. And then after the 4th trial, ended up having a heart attack. So back and forth to prison, all the things. But
How did you get
again,
4 trials for the same thing?
well,
Different
this was the
podcast. Different podcast.
yeah, 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 different podcasts. But if you
Yeah.
read the because in the movie that was directed by Clint Eastwood, and I think
Yeah.
Kevin Spacey paid the. Have you ever watched the movie?
No.
It's a classic. It's really a classic, and it was filmed right here in Savannah. Clint Eastwood directed it, as well as I said, Kevin Spacey played the character of Jim Williams. And in the movie, there was just one trial,
Yeah.
but I learned on the tour that there was actually 4 trials, because the first trial it got, he was guilty, but then it got thrown out and overturned by the Supreme Court. Second trial was like, I think, found guilty again, did 2 years, and again determined that, oh, we're going to throw this out because there wasn't evidence that was allowed. Third trial was a mistrial. And then the fourth trial, they did it outside of Savannah in Augusta, and then he was found not guilty, and he died, I believe, either right before the verdict or right after the verdict. He had a heart attack.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. But walking through that house and just hearing the story is just like, man, I just have the power, and I really believe, to create the life that I want and desire. And it's just a matter of time
Yeah.
before it
I kind of
happens.
feel like, yeah, he may buy it, but you'll probably by that time already have all the resources and finances you need to get it for yourself. Yourself or not. That's just how I see you, you
Well,
know?
I'm looking for him, so I'm trying to give him something to do.
Give me something. Like, I don't need you to do this for me,
No,
but
I do need you, sir, because men need to feel needed.
we do. We do. That is
So I
that is
need
very
him.
that is very, very true.
I need him to buy me my dream home in downtown Savannah near Taylor Street.
If you're
But there
listening,
was a time in my life where I was like, marriage, child, bye. That's not for
she's
me.
very specific, guys. So
Very specific.
she knows exactly, like, she's
No,
down to the street. So
out.
you don't even have, like, the blueprint is already there, right? So you just got to just follow what's been laid out.
Holler at me. Go to sapphirestar.com and send me an email.
All right, I do want to bring something up since you mentioned confirmation biases, which is such a big one because you're literally looking for evidence to back up whatever the thought is or
It's
whatever the
great.
story is, right? I have recently been reading about desirability bias, which is I want this so bad
Foods.
that it's clouded my vision. And it stops me from being able to reevaluate, look at the new facts, reevaluate, and possibly change my opinion or change my mind. That desirability bias stops that. And the thing is, this book, it's the highlight of my mornings now, which is called Think Again. I believe the author's name is Adam Grant.
I need
And
to write down. Think
I am
again.
singing
Think again.
Think Again. And I'm just going to confirm so that way I'm not leading you all down the wrong path. Think Again by Adam Grant. Yep. And so when I look back on some of just the past year and a half, when I look at some of the decisions and choices that I've made, I can clearly see the desirability biases that I was having at the time and how that prevented me from looking at the actual facts and changing my mind. And that's one thing that's the premise of the book is not only like being comfortable with changing your mind, but having to do that to actually develop yourself and be like that best version of yourself, being willing to be wrong, being willing to change your mind. Because how often do you see people that when they form an opinion, they're not letting that opinion go. No matter what is thrown there to refute your opinion, they even clamp down even harder. Like they double down on the wrong thought or the wrong belief. And so after reading this book, first of all, I would not have been able to hear this book. I'm reading it, but I would not have been able to hear it a year ago, because that's how locked in I was. So it's only appropriate that this book is coming up now, because like that particular phase is over and now I'm like in a whole new phase. And I gotta admit, this book it's right on time for me right now, because I get to look back and see where my biases were running the show, as opposed to as opposed to changing my beliefs, pivoting, and going about it a different way. But again, I couldn't hear it back then. And back then, I wasn't as clear as I am now as far as what my path forward is. But oh my God, desirability bias is a serious, serious, I was gonna say death dealer, but that's not what it is. But it's just like, it is so heavy, and it can totally derail what you're up to, all
What
because you're locked in.
what was the chef? Because you said last year you wouldn't have been able to hear it, but this year you're locked in.
Well, that
What
phase
was
is over. That phase of my life is over, right? So
so
I'm in a whole new phase now. And so I can hear it because well, you've said this in the past. We're either winning or we're learning.
yeah,
So since I didn't win, I'm learning.
you're learning. Yeah. Yeah.
And part of learning means I need to go back and look at the facts. And that was also something that I wasn't able to do, was be able to look at the facts and not make an emotional opinion about myself in facing those facts. Whereas you are, anyone who knows NLP knows that failure is just feedback.
Wait, what's NLP for the people that
All
don't
right. So
know?
NLP stands for neuro linguistic programming. And my short answer for that is really hacking your mind. And so, but in there is this thing about failure, which is failure is just feedback. Just as you say, if you're not winning, you're learning. Failure is just feedback. And if you're getting feedback, you can listen and hear feedback without tying your emotions to that. And so that was something that,
Or your identity.
or your identity, especially your identity. But
Identity,
that's
yeah.
also something that we do from a desirability bias, is we attach our identity to the thought or to the belief. And now when that belief is challenged, what else is being challenged? My identity,
Who I am.
who
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah. And that's deep.
But if we take the standpoint of not attaching our identity to our opinions and our beliefs, if we separate those two things, and you are just who you are, but your beliefs can change based on the new data, the new facts that come in,
Yeah.
well, now you're flexible, and now you can walk that path to wisdom, because you are willing to be wrong and change as a result of that. You're willing to look and see what is true, and see what new facts have showed up that may change my opinion, and not being so tied to that opinion that you can't change it because your identity is connected to it. So detaching your identity from your beliefs and from your opinions, in my mind, is critical.
I feel like it's almost, isn't that like the principle of Buddhism? I could be wrong.
I don't even know Buddhism like that, so I couldn't
Yeah.
say. I can't answer.
Yeah. Um, well, a few things you said, but this made me, as you were talking, this made me think about the stories we tell ourselves when it comes to trauma and healing. Because I believe some of the stories we create are a part of our survival mechanism. It's a part of us not losing our mind. It's a part of us just like, okay, the current reality that I'm in now is
Yeah.
very uncomfortable. How do I transport myself somewhere else? And that made me think about Tyler Perry. And Tyler Perry in his documentary about his mother, I forget the name of it, something son, but I can't think of his mom's name right now. But he talked about the abuse was so severe that he created these stories, these alternate realities, because they provided an escape for him to kind of leave his body that
Yeah.
was being abused and being able to transport someone somewhere else. And that has worked for him almost to a career, right? And so the question is, how do we know, or how do we differentiate between a story that's protecting us versus a story that may be limiting us?
I think the answer is the same for both of those. Questioning. Question the story. Like, is this true? And what facts are you basing that on? See, how often do you hear people talk about things that they have zero knowledge about, but they say it like it's right. I could be in the car with and whoever's in the passenger seat, if they see like a car in the front that's not behaving the way they think that car should behave, maybe they're not driving at the same pace they are, or maybe they cut you off by accident. You don't know it's an accident, but they cut you off. And the person in the other seat says, see, they just entitled. What are you basing that on? What facts are we basing that on? Because we don't know that person. We haven't had a conversation with that person. We know zero about the person. All we know is that they were in that lane and then they came in front of my vehicle and didn't leave the allotted amount of room that's supposed to be okay with moving over. We don't know if that person was distracted. We don't know if that person just got the worst news of their life and they're just not spitting, they're spacing out. We just don't know. But we
Yeah.
automatically say, oh, that person is a lank. And we choose whatever the adjective is that makes us feel good and makes
Yeah.
them wrong. And
Yeah.
so if we take the time to stop being so in this place called trying to be right, if we stop trying to be right and just be okay, like I'm not saying don't be right, like we want to be accurate, we want to be factual, but if we stop tying our rightness to our identity, if we stop doing that, the whole world opens up from a possibility standpoint, and compassion can overflow because I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. How many times have you and I said that we believe that people are doing the best that they can, but sometimes their best is not necessarily good enough for me. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna,
And that's okay.
and that's okay. But I'm gonna
But what
go,
do I,
I'm gonna go over here
yeah.
while y'all are over there. That's what I'm gonna do. So yeah, the idea of I personally know how it feels to want to be right and how awful I felt when I was wrong about whatever it is I wanted to be right about.
Yeah.
And now I am definitely at a place where it's like, okay, it actually is okay to be
It's okay.
incorrect. And it's okay to change my opinion in light of new facts.
Yeah. That's growth. It's growth. It's growth. It's growth.
Right.
You know, for those that are listening to the podcast and they're hearing us talk about the stories we tell ourselves, what is something that they can do if they're like, okay, what is a step that I can take to begin rewriting the story that I've been telling myself, especially if it's not producing the outcome that I want? What is the step that they can take to begin that process?
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is something that I said in a previous podcast. Couldn't tell you what number it is, but it's question everything, right?
Yeah.
Question your own belief in regards to fact, and start looking at the things that are you quote are negative, and look at those as feedback, as opposed to looking at something that is a mark against your identity and who you are as a person and a human being. Um, Taking the time to just fact check it, reality check it, ask the questions. Is this true? And be open to the facts. Like I feel like there are certain areas where we grab onto and are unwilling to let go. But the thing is, they will not take the time to see where they even got that belief from in the first place. So I'm going to use religion to start off with, because um, there are people in our world who believe that yoga is of the devil. Firm believers in that. And I'm not saying it is or isn't, but I will say that I have seen, I don't do yoga, but I have seen those types of practices, and I've seen people that are better as a result of being
Okay.
in that. Yeah. So where's the lie? Where is all those things that people are willing to believe that from a negative aspect about something as simple as yoga? You know, I remember hearing that planks were like from slavery, right? It's like when they were on the ships and they had on those things, and like they tie planks, like the physical exercise of doing planks,
That's
tie
wild.
that to the slave ships. Tied that to the slave ships. Made a connection in my mind where a connection did not exist.
Um, Now, for those soul shifters that are listening to the podcast today about the stories we tell ourselves, how can someone begin or start to rewrite the stories that is not giving them the outcome that they want?
I got two things. One is something I've said in a podcast ago that I don't remember what episode it was, but it was like question everything. You probably remember me saying that. Question every single thing, whether right, wrong, indifferent, question the facts about it. But since I've already talked about sharing this book, I'm going to give you an excerpt that I highlighted. And I think this sums up your question in totality. It says that who you are should be a question of what you value, not what you believe. Values are your core principles in life. They might be excellence and generosity, freedom and fairness, or security and integrity. Basing your identity on these kinds of principles enables you to remain open minded about the best ways to advance them. You want the doctor whose identity is protecting health. You want the teacher whose identity is helping students learn. And you want the police officer whose identity is promoting safety and justice. When they define themselves by values rather than opinions, they buy themselves the
Mhm.
flexibility to update their practices in light of new evidence.
I love that. Well said. Like,
Thank you. That's Adam Grant. That's not
well,
me. So good job, Adam. Good job.
good job. Good job, Adam. And can I add to
Please,
that?
please.
And this is something that I practice for myself in the rewiring of my brain. And what I believe is I listen to affirmations every morning. And that feeds into my subconscious brain because the subconscious is what's going on in the background and it feeds our conscious mind. So that's an action, a deliberate action, a practice that I do every morning is listen to 5-minute affirmations on, and it's helping me with the who I am and the I am statements that I'm making throughout my day. And starting that out in the morning is a great way to, like you talked about earlier, about okay, how am I creating the reality I want for my day, and I started it on a positive note.
That's awesome. That is awesome. And
Yes,
I would also say that we probably should be doing something like that at night too, so that we're going to bed with those and then waking up with those. So that's it. I love it.
absolutely.
Absolutely love it.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the conversation today. If you know someone that can use a soul shift, please make sure you share this podcast with them. If you have a practice that you implement in your life to help you in the story that you tell yourself, please put it in the comment section. If you have any challenges that you're like, hey, how can I approach this? If we didn't cover that today, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at www.soulshiftsession.com. And also, we would love to hear what did you love about this podcast? What stood out to you in this podcast? Please share that with us as well. Coach Kyle, any final words for the Soul Shifters?
I actually don't have anything this time because I feel like I gave a lot with that last one. So normally I give you a quote, but I think that quote that I gave you is going to be good enough.
I agree. It was giving final words when you were saying that. I was like, oh, it's giving final words, but we'll take it.
Yes.
Until next time, guys, always remember to let your soul flow.
So long, everyone.